Hi everybody, welcome back to the Enterprise App Pattern series of videos. And in this video, we are going to talk about operational excellence pillar of reliable web app pattern. All right, so operational excellence, what does that mean? Well, these are the processes that keep your application up and running in production, such as like automated deployments. They're predictable, reliable, and because they're automated, they avoid human error. Another one such as would be repeatable infrastructure. And so what's nice about repeatable infrastructure is that it's going to be immutable. If you deploy something in one Azure region and then deploy it in another Azure region, you know it's going to be the exact same thing. And kind of call back to the automated deployments is that when you deploy your code in one Azure region, you know that when you deploy it in another, that because you're reducing human error, because it's automated, you know you're going to get the exact same deployment everywhere. And if you needed to back out a deployment because of an unintended bug, you could do that as well. Another pillar of the operational excellence is rotation of secrets. You don't want to have a secret or essentially a password that's used to communicate between services live forever. You want to change those every now and then to help maintain security. And so ideally, we're rotating secrets. And then monitoring. So we want to be able to glimpse an insight on how our app is behaving, whether we have any slow running queries, whether we have some undetected bugs somewhere. We want to set up some monitoring so we can get an idea of what's going on underneath the covers, so to speak. So let's talk about rotating secrets just a bit. So secrets, they're like the passwords. They're used to grant authorization and create connections between different resources. And so the rotation provides protection. We're changing things, right? You change your password, it's different. If you leak it, you can change it. Ideally, what we want to do is automate that. We don't want to introduce any human error between it. We write a script, have it automated, good to go. So what does that secret rotation process look like? Well, first off, if necessary, we'll have to generate a new secret. Now, why do I say if necessary? Well, a lot of Azure services have a primary key and a secondary key. So if we have that, a primary key and a secondary key, what we can do is that we can update Key Vault with the secondary key and leave that primary key there. However, though, if we have to generate a brand new secret, we have to update Key Vault with that new secret. Then, to keep on going with the secret rotation process, we're going to have to restart whatever application, in our case a web app, that's reading that secret. By restarting it, we know it's going to go out to Key Vault or go through app configuration to get the Key Vault and get that new value out of there. And then, finally, we want to delete that secret, the old one, or regenerate the now unused key within our service. So essentially, we're getting rid of the unused secret that was out there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our repeatable infrastructure. We need to ensure consistency between environments. That leads to more predictable behaviors, both in production and also helps the dev team troubleshoot. If we know we can set up a production-like environment within development, that allows us to recreate any issues that might happen in a way that we can fix the mistakes. So infrastructure as code helps us with that. All the bicep files, they're immutable. What we can repeat deployments and we know the deployment will result in the exact same thing every single time. And so by using the Azure Developer CLI, bicep templates, and GitHub Actions, we can effectively recreate the same thing everywhere. Azure Developer CLI, or AZD as I'll sometimes refer to it, and the bicep templates, I can do everything locally. GitHub Actions, point into production, recreates essentially the Azure Developer CLI. Effectively, Azure Developer CLI really recreates what GitHub Actions is doing, but it's the same point. Repeatable infrastructure everywhere. And that does the consistency. I have my consistency between the environments. I now am free to both debug or innovate, knowing what I have running locally, where I'm developing on, is going to be applied to production. and bug fixes. I can be sure automated deployments that they're going to be deployed to every single environment. And it also maximizes productivity. I'm not going to be sitting and really kind of just banging my head against my laptop trying to figure out why something works on my machine but not on a different one. Because the repeatable infrastructure, I can guarantee that everything looks the same. And that's a very key point in this overall operational excellence pillar. So, monitoring. This is the next one I wanted to explore, and it's best to be shown because there's some really neat things that Application Insights gives us. So Application Insights is a way to monitor our applications, whether we're running locally or up in production. And a way we can enable that and get tons of telemetry is through a NuGet package, the Microsoft.ApplicationInsights.ASP.NET Core. So install that into our solution, and then we can enable it with just this line of code when we're setting up all our other services. Add Application Insights, and then passing it in the connection string so it can talk to the overall server. So once that's all done, this is what we can get. This is just a dashboard that we get with the RWA, or the Reliable Web App Pattern, deployment. Of all the code that deploys, it also creates a brand new dashboard, and it shows us a lot of information. Things such as unique sessions and users, all the failed requests, a server response time, and all that. Application Insights is collecting that information and showing it to us so we can go through and debug information if we wanted to. So one thing I do want to show off that I think is actually super cool is live metrics and a live stream. So I can go through here and actually see what's happening live. So I'm going to open up in a new tab my website. Get the web app open, and then we should be able to see some telemetry starting to come through. I can start browsing around in it. Now, right now, I'm getting failures everywhere. And that's because I have my demo set up to fail everywhere, to have the web API send failures. And if I go back to the live telemetry, I can see these failures coming through. So if I open this up, I can see the circuit is open and not allowing calls. That's Poly and my circuit breaker pattern working. So that's great, and that's something that Application Insights gives me in monitoring real time, showing everything that's coming through. Now if I go back to Application Insights, I can also view custom events that happen. So I have my code set up to log out when folks add a ticket to the cart. And if I look for events, I can load that up. And then I can view the custom events, like add to cart. And then I can say during the last, let's say 12 hours. And only 2 events happened during those last 12 hours. So what I could actually do here is set up metrics and alerts to say, you know what, if nobody's added anything to the cart within the last 4 hours, send an alert to somebody. Maybe something's down, something else is going wrong. Because what's worse than a website that's down? A website that's up, that nobody is using. So we want to keep that in mind. And also we can look at log analytics. And what log analytics does, it allows us to write KQL reports. I'll open that up. Again, it was all deployed for us with the default scripts provided as part of the RWA. And I'm going to search for logs. Close this out. And then an application query, I want to look for operation performance because that is an interesting one. and I can run it. You can see my KQL, and if I scroll down, I can see various metrics, such as this GET, where it was coming from, how many requests count, the average duration of it, and so on. So all very interesting information I can get to base reports on, so I can check in on my application, so I can then later decide if I need to fix anything or just get a general health metrics. Repeatable infrastructure, rotating secrets, and monitoring are just 3 portions of the operational excellence pillar of the reliable web app pattern. To get more information, please head out to the GitHub repo and check out some best practices and prescriptive guidance of operational excellence.